What is up, my maker friends? How are y'all doing today? Thanks so much for joining me. Let me know down in the comments below if you're catching this live or are you watching the replay. For you that don't know, my name is Kerri. I've got Mama Dares to DIY on YouTube. I do lots of fun DIYs, and y'all, we are just having a blast over there. So if you want to join us, definitely head on over to YouTube and check that out. I'm also on all of the other social media sites as Mama Dares to DIY. I'm here today because Amy has asked me to debut a brand new stencil that she's made for a maker studio. And y'all, this stencil is simply stunning. I know when you see it, you're going to think the same thing I did. Your brain is just going to be going crazy. And y'all, are you ready to see it? Here it is. Look at the stencil. Y'all, this stencil is called Marbling. You can see why. This is such a pretty design. Look at all the fluidity and all the movement, just like real marble is. I'm going to show y'all a project today using this marbling stencil and some of the no-bake ceramic paints from a maker studio. I'm going to do a couple of different color variations just so you can kind of see the different things that you can do with this. I'm also going to be using some of the gold leaf. If you've never used gold leaf before, y'all, it is so easy. It's one of my favorite things to do. And until Amy and a maker studio entered my life, I had never even tried to gold leaf anything. And now it is definitely one of my favorite things to do. So who wants to win this gorgeous stencil for themselves? Amy is going to be giving one of these away. All you've got to do is to drop 3 of your friends' names down in the comments below, tag them, share with them all of the fun that we're having today, and you might be the lucky winner of this gorgeous marbling stencil. I'm going to give you one super quick look before we get started. I'm going to turn the camera down so you can join me on the workspace. And don't forget, if you want to win this, tag those friends. So let's get started, y'all. Okay, y'all, so this is what we're going to be using for our project today. I've got our brand new marbling stencil. I'm going to be using some just plain glazed tiles that I picked up from my local hardware store. I'm also going to be using some of the Maker Studio no-bake ceramic paints. I've got the color Angel Wings, I've got black, I've got the water to my ocean, and also smoke gets in my eyes. And to finish it off, we're going to put some beautiful gold leaf. To make that happen though, we've got to have some of our gilding size. I'm also going to be using a couple of the new tools that Amy has given us for our Maker Studio products. These are so fun. They're like a silicone material and they're super easy to clean. I'm also going to use one of the handy dandy original little scrapers. I still love these, but I also love the new silicone ones as well. I do like to go ahead and cut just little pieces of these off though. Okay, so let's get started. Let's open up this stencil. I love that I can reuse this stencil as many times as I need to. The mesh on the back is great. It keeps your stencil all together and it really makes it easy to wash. I'm actually not going to peel the whole stencil off of the page. I'm just going to take one of my little coasters here and I'm going to place it on my stencil like this. If you are doing a bunch of them, you could totally just put them all down and lay your stencil over the top, but I'm not going to be doing that. We want to make sure that this is totally burnished in. And to do that, you're just going to take your finger and rub it really, really well. So when you put your paint on your stencil, just be aware that the parts that you see, the white parts, that's going to become your color. So when you're thinking about your design, you want to make sure that you know which color you're going to be placing where. I do want to mix a little bit of my black and my white ceramic paint together to give me a gray. That's the great thing about these ceramic paints. They mix together really, really well. So don't think you're only limited by the choices here. You've got lots and lots of different options just by simply mixing those paint colors. I do want it just a little bit lighter, so I'll add a little bit more white. Think of these for Christmas presents. These coasters would be awesome for that. You can use these ceramic paints on lots of other things too. And one of my favorite things is to just get some of the plain ceramic kitchenware like coffee cups and plates and stuff from the local Dollar Tree, and you can really transform those super easy. These are no bake, so you don't have to worry about baking them in the oven or anything like that. So I'm going to do two different color variations today. The first one that I'm going to do, I'm just going to use black, white, and gray. Let me put a little bit more black there. And the second one, I'm going to go in with some blue colors. So for this first one here, I'm going to take a little bit of paint on our spreader, but I want to sort of mix these colors in. So I'll go in with some of my black. And when you're using these stencils, you want to make sure that you push really well. The paint is going to go in through that mesh, and you need to make sure and be aware that all of it is going through. Now let's go in with a little bit of gray here. If I've got one little spot that I want to get, that's where this tip comes in handy. So you can take your little tip and you can just get your paint where you want it to go. If I want this tip to be gray, I'll just wipe it off and go in with gray there. Isn't that fun? Marble comes in lots of different colors. You can just do the black and the white together, but I think when you mix the colors up, that makes it a lot of fun. When you're working with your stencils, you want to try to work a little bit fast. You don't want to let your paint dry into your mesh stencil, so you want to try to get that off as fast as you can. Might need just a little bit more of my black paint, or I could do this. I'll put some of my gray here. So next I'm going to take the big spreader. And with this marble stencil, we really don't care that our colors are going to run together. In fact, I think that's going to give it more of that marbled look. And I have a little bit of black here, so I can just use that to go over. Okay, so now let's peel it off. that beautiful? That looks so realistic. I'm going to give this just a few minutes to dry. And before I move on to the next one, I am going to go ahead and remove this off of my paper and go ahead and wash the whole thing because I don't want this paint to dry. So give me just a few seconds to wash this off and I'll come back and we'll start on our blue color. For the next one, I do want more of the blue color to show through. I want less of the white, so I think I'm going to choose this. See how much white is going to be showing through when I put my paint through the stencil? That white is going to be the blue part. So I'm going to position my tile on that part. I'm going to go ahead and add some of that paint here. And I want to also add in a little bit of this color. This is called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. It's really, really pretty. This blue is called You're the Water to My Ocean. In case y'all don't know, I do live at the beach and I have a ton of beach themed stuff in my home. So a lot of my colors are these navies and turquoises, and I love that color scheme. And I'm just going to peel back that stencil. I'm actually going to bring it down just slightly. The fun thing about this one is it's going to be super easy if you want to do something bigger because of the pattern. This is a fun pattern. You don't have to really worry about if it matches up or not because it's got so much movement and so much fluidity. That's better. So now we're going to do just like we did with our other coaster here. We want to make sure that the stencil is burnished. So I think I want the majority of my coaster to be this pretty turquoise color. So I'll go in with a lot of the turquoise first, but I'm going to use more of that marbling technique. So I'm going to work kind of quickly. I don't want all of this to be this one color because it is a fairly large surface. I know this looks a little bit messy at the moment, but just wait. I'm not even going to change my paintbrush color, or my paintbrush rather, because I'm going to take some of this You're the Water to My Ocean and sort of mix this in. Kind of looks like a hot mess right now. I love to play with colors though. Okay, so now I'll put a little bit of our gray. I don't want much of this gray showing through. I just want a little bit of it just as a little bit of contrast. And then I'll pick up my little dauber tool here and add in some black. Not a lot, just a little. You could even scrape all your paint off if you wanted to, and then come back in with your gray and your black. And I really want these colors to mix in well together, so I'm going to use this rougher edge from our original scraper. We're going to pull it off. Look how pretty that looks. So you can go basic with just one or two colors, or you can go a little bit wild and crazy and just sort of marble and mix those colors in even more. I'm going to go over and wash the stencil off and give these two tiles a few minutes to dry, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you how we're going to gold leaf those. Okay, so I'm back. I've got my stencil all washed out. If you're just joining us, we are playing around with Amy's brand new marbling stencil today. I've got a couple of plain white coasters that I picked up from my local hardware store. These are just the plain like 59-cent tiles that you can get at any of those stores. And I have transformed them using the Maker Studio ceramic paints in black, Angel White, You're the Water to My Ocean, and Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. Now we are going to take that up a whole new level, and we're going to add some bling bling to it with the Maker Studio Gold Leaf and the Gilding Size. I'm going to start with this one first. I did hit this with my blow dryer just to make sure that it was dry. I'm hoping what I've got planned for this one, it's dry enough, and if not, we're just going to hope for the best. I do want to put a monogram on this one because I think that would be super pretty. But for this one, I just want to take my gold leaf and I want to outline the edge of this just to sort of take that elegant level up a notch. The first time I used gold leaf, I was so scared. I was terrified. I thought I was going to mess something up, but the more that I've used it, I have learned it's really not as scary as I made it out to be. I'm going to grab a clean brush. I love the Maker Studio paint brushes. The bristles hold their shape so incredibly well. So we're just going to dip our paintbrush down in there. And because I want sort of that kind of messy look, I'm really not going to worry about keeping this edge straight. If more gets on one side than it does the other, then it's really not a big deal. This is the Gilding Size. You have to have this if you are working with gold leaf. This is what makes it stick. It's clear, so sometimes it can be hard to see. But I'm just painting a nice generous coat on the edge. And I also want to make sure that it carries over to the top just a little bit. Now, when you're working with your Gilding Size and your gold leaf, you've got a window of opportunity that you need before your Gilding Size will stick. It usually takes about 5 or 10 minutes depending on how porous your surface is, but you're looking for that sweet spot. So if you take your ring finger, and Amy gives us a little trick, take that ring finger and just tap that. If it's time to gold leaf, your finger is going to stick to that. If it's not, it's going to still remain tacky. So it usually doesn't take as long when you're working with the ceramic to get that tacky feel. I'll just leave this one here. While that one is drying, we'll move on to our monogram. Y'all, this turned out so pretty. I'm so excited about this. I'm still going to probably outline the edge with the gold leaf like I'm doing with the black one, but I want to put my monogram on the middle. And I really hope this is dry enough. If not, it's going to be a disaster. Make sure that is all burnished in. You can definitely use your gold leaf with your stencils too. I'm just going to go in with my brush and I'm going to tap. Make sure you get every piece of this covered or else it will not stick. Okay, so before it dries, we'll take it up. And then we're going to let this dry just like we did the other one. I'm going to run and wash this off really fast too, just because I don't want that to dry. Now let's check this. Again, I'm going to take my ring finger, and now you can see what I'm talking about. See how my finger just sticks to that? That's how we know that we are ready. Your window of opportunity to work with your gold leaf while it's still sticky, I think if I remember correctly, Amy said it's around 10 minutes. So don't freak out too much. You've got some time. So I'm just going to take my gold leaf and press it into that tacky. Just a word of caution. If you have a ceiling fan on, you might want to cut it off. If not, you're going to have gold leaf everywhere. The main goal in the beginning is just to get all of your tacky covered. Once we get that done, then we can take off the excess. I admit I save every little scrap of gold leaf that I can because I don't want to waste any of it. It is way too pretty. So once you get everything covered, we're going to take a piece of our tissue paper that comes with the gold leaf. If you've got a piece you miss, no worries. You just take a little piece of this stray and stick it to it. I do like to sort of take my finger and make sure that everything is stuck down and I don't feel any sticky spots that I might have missed. See, like I missed this one here. But I'm just going to take a little scrap piece and put that on it. It would also be pretty to take your paintbrush and sort of paint in some like veins through it with the gold. I think that would be really, really pretty. Okay, now we're just going to take our tissue paper. We're going to pull off the excess. You can also use a paintbrush for this. If you've got a little paintbrush, you can use that to flick it off. It's up to you. Again, we want to save all of these little pieces. Isn't that pretty? See how much more elegant that is? Remember, especially if you're going to sell these pieces, you want to take all of your projects up one notch. When somebody looks at your work, you just want it to be elevated when it's compared to the person that's next to you. Okay, so now I'm going to take my tissue paper and I'm just going to rub that in. And when you rub it, you can see how it just gets extra shiny. Okay, we've got one of our coasters finished. And remember, if you want to make a whole set of these, you can just lay your 4 tiles out and you can just put your paint on all at one time. You don't have to keep washing it out if you're doing a whole set of them. I only washed it out because I was using a totally different color. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's so pretty. It's hard to believe that is a 59-cent tile from your hardware store, right? Okay, so let's check on this one. Let's see. I think this one is ready too. Got another piece of my gold leaf here. I want to make sure that my piece is big enough. If not, I'll be piecing it together. And that's okay too. My paint wasn't quite dry right here, so my gold leaf did happen to stick to that paint just a little bit, but that's okay. We're totally going to go with it. I might can use my fingernail and scrape it off a little bit, but I kind of like the way it looks. It kind of has more of that old world look to it. So we are just going to go with it. But if you were doing this at home, you do want to totally make sure before you start with your monogram that you've got this totally and completely dry. You don't want it to be able to stick. That was my fault for trying to rush things. I didn't know if it was going to work or not, but we tried. I think it's still beautiful. I am going to go and do the outside of our monogram coaster just like I did this one, and I'll be back to show you the finished product. Okay, y'all, here's both of our designs finished. Here's our black, white, and gray version. It's just clean and classy. And then we've got our turquoise and teal version with a little bit of black and some gray and also a little bit of navy in there. I went in with the monogram stencil on the top, but if you end up going with this version, just make sure that you've got your paint totally dry. You want to let it cure for at least 24 hours. I didn't have 24 hours, so I just hit mine with the blow dryer, and my gold leaf did stick to my paint a little bit, but it's not that big a deal. I still think it's pretty. Which version is your favorite? I honestly can't decide. Now, when you're making these, you want to make sure that you put something on the back of it, as far as a cork backing or even a felt backing if you're going to be selling these or giving these away as gifts. That'll just finish off the look. That does it for today's video, y'all. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to share this with your friends. And if you want the opportunity to win this stencil for free, be sure to drop those friends' names down in the comments below. Let them know how much fun we're having. Also, I would love to know what you're kind of thinking about doing with this stencil. I have got so many different ideas. I could definitely see putting this even on the bottom of a cutting board as decorative use. It would be so pretty just to have like half wood, half marble. Wouldn't that be a pretty idea? I think I'm going to have to jump off of here and do that right now. Anyway, let me know, what are you going to do with this? I really hope y'all enjoyed it. And y'all, that's it. I've got to run. Until next time, happy DIYing, y'all.